Paper 1, Question 5, Story or Description and Technical Accuracy, Spelling, Punctuation, Sentences and Grammar. The lesson objectives today are by the end of the video or the lesson, learners will plan a story or description, including, for a story, order a story, create an engaging setting, plan a flashback or cliffhanger or circular structure or foreshadowing, proofread for sentence punctuation, especially full stops, commas and semicolons, after writing an opening paragraph and possibly one more paragraph. Here are some literary techniques, but in films. So in Ratatouille, there is a flashback to eating ratatouille. In Inception, there is a metaphor and a cliffhanger involving a spinning top. And in Get Out, there is foreshadowing involving a car accident with a deer. What's good about this piece of creative writing from one of my learners? Paper 1, Question 5, Model Answer, The Beach. Angry water splashes against my feet and legs as I'm standing on the edge of the rocks, water licking at my feet. The rock is a razor, cutting the soles of my feet. I'm standing on the edge, looking down at what life has given me. The deep waters are calling, luring me to step closer. Relentless accusations of not good enough, not smart enough, and not skinny enough are slapping against the walls between land and water, splashing, slashing, and struggling against the currents of life. Pulling back into the darkest deepness, the water swirls back into an abyss of thoughts. Familiar faces, whispers of gossip, and friendly, cunning smiles all whirl together in this black pool of withering water, foaming, frothing, and laughing as I stumble and fall. Time is standing still as the seconds tick by. Feeling light and weightless, I fall towards the welcoming arms of the waves, which give me a cold, chilling embrace as they pull me under. The noise of the voices far away on the surface, splashing and spluttering as another world that I don't belong to. The current pulls me back, and I float willingly to its deepness. I open my eyes and only see darkness, but then I see a flicker of light. There is blackness, then a flash like an old camera that takes photos of moments never to be forgotten. Flash, my mother's smile. Flash, the house next to the river. Hope flashes before my eyes as the lighthouse looks out over the sea. The water is pulling and pushing me as my lungs burn with holding my breath. Pulling and pushing and lifting as the deep darkness repels me from nothingness. It shoves me towards the surface, urging me to find life and purpose. Breath bursts through as the water breaks open, freeing me from the fighting, drowning feeling like taking off a heavy coat that was dragging me down. I'm free from the fighters and the foes, floating as the water carries me cleansed, ashore. What is good about this piece of creative writing from one of my learners? The writing has circular structure. It starts and ends out of the water. What techniques are there? Here are some quotes. The rock is a razor. Splashing, slashing and struggling. Flash, my mother's smile. Flash, the house next to the river. Hope flashes. Hope flashes. Pulling and pushing. The rock is a razor is a metaphor showing the intensity of her feelings. Splashing, slashing and struggling is sibilance to show the struggle that she's going through. Flash, flash. Hope flashes is repetition of the memories that have flashing past her as she fights with the sea. Hope flashes also foreshadows a happy ending. Pulling and pushing is the juxtaposition of her feelings during the struggle. Techniques you should include in a Paper 1 Question 5 question include the metaphor, simile, emotive language, list of three, imagery, alliteration, personification, adjectives, complex sentences, minor or short sentences, semicolons, and start your sentences in different ways, perhaps with a verb, adverb or adjective, as well as the usual noun. Punctuation. Here is the mark scheme for technical accuracy. It focuses on sentence punctuation and a range of punctuation within sentences as well as between sentences, using different sentence forms, getting your grammar right, your spelling, and a wide vocabulary. This is probably one of the most important parts of spelling, punctuation and grammar, sentence punctuation. You must punctuate your sentences properly. Please use a full stop, a question mark, an exclamation mark,
a semicolon or a joining word between your sentences. Don't use a comma or nothing. Semicolons are really easy. They're used between complete sentences that are related in meaning instead of joining words, and they're used between list elements which contain commas. You need to show that you can use commas accurately. Commas are used between items in a list, before, after, or around discourse markers such as on the other hand or however, before, after, or around extra information, which isn't a full sentence on its own, before or after quotations, always before the quotations mark, and before some joining words, for example and, but, or, and so. You would also use a comma between full sentences when the joining word is at the start of the sentence.
How do you lengthen sentences? If the sentences are related and full, use a semicolon, or you can use a joining word to make it compound or complex. You could also add extra information with commas. Can you name 6 places where commas are used? In lists A, B and C, before or after or around signpost words, before, after or around extra information, before or after quotations, before fanboys joining words, between full sentences when the joining word is at the start. Where are apostrophes not used? It's possessive and plurals. Where are apostrophes used? In possession after the owner and in contraction, missing letters. Sentence forms.
As you can see, there are lots of ways of starting sentences. Try and mix them up to give variety. As you can see, there are lots of different reasons for using different sorts of sentences. So you can emphasize, vary your sentences, which is very important, to explain, report dialogue, and link ideas.
As well as those types of sentences, don't forget you can also ask questions, give commands, and use dialogue. Vocabulary. Try and use a range of words which fits in with your semantic field in papers 1 and 2, question 5, and use a range of vocabulary to analyse the reading sources in reading questions. For example, which words do you associate with fear, escape, lonely, also love, warmth, and softness? Stop the video to see a selection of words from each topic and semantic field. Stop the video to see a selection of words from each topic and semantic field. Interesting vocabulary is really important. Here are some alternatives to common verbs. Here's the story mountain. Remember its features: expositional setting, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Hopefully you won't be starting at the setting, you'll be starting somewhere else, and then maybe using a flashback to make your story more interesting, or one of the other techniques. Time to plan and write. Plan a story or description, including for a story, order a story, create an engaging setting, plan a flashback or cliffhanger or circular structure or foreshadowing, proofread for sentence punctuation, especially full stops, commas and semicolons. Make sure by the end of the lesson you've written the opening paragraph and possibly one more. Even more if you can.